Hello ladies and gents, hope you're all well. You join me on High Holborn, one of London's little old remaining medieval buildings. This is what London would have been like many years ago. So join me over the road for a closer look. There we are. London shoemakers, traditional shoe shop. And it's got some information here, which is the original building erected in 1545 to 1589 by Vincent Encombe. And another, the rear elevation was cased in brick in 1826. The front, after various alterations, was restored to its original design in 1886. The entire building was reconstructed in 1937, the old front being retained. That's interesting. This is it here, look. It leads into this court. Hi. Look, it leads into this little court. Very nice, one of London's little hidden courtyards. And for our next location, I'll be taking you over there. So join me over the road. And here we are, the Citie of Yorke Pub. A pub existed on the site since the 15th century. The current iteration of the City of Yorke was built in 1923 to 1924, possibly by designs of Ernest R. Barrow. One of the most iconic features of the City of Yorke is the lengthy, sparkling Henneke's long bar in the main room, complemented by 1,000-gallon wine vats perched above. As the longest pub bar in England, this legendary fixture has attracted visitors for decades. Sorry about that. In the old pub, novelist Charles Dickens, who happened to live close by, placed a couple of his stories here. The character David Copperfield is said to have stopped in order to order a strong elixir while inquiring for a lost acquaintance. The story of Barnaby Rudge of the rioters is said to have hid in this cellar. The Welsh poet Dylan Thomas, who is said to have found inspiration within the pub, even writing a poem based on that very long bar that we'll see inside. Another fascinating feature about this pub is situated in one corner. It's three-sided stove that dates from the Regency or Georgian period and originally came from the Inns of Court and has a hidden chimney. So, join me over the road and we shall go inside. Get some views first, exterior views. There's been a public house on this site called the City of Yorke since 1430, and this is a brilliant one. It's got lots of different areas, shall we say. Including a cellar bar, which we'll check out as well, of course. You wouldn't think that this is 1920s, would you? Because it looks so old.
You've got these little cubicles here as well. Vanity Fair. Very nice on a cold winter's day, that. Wonder where its smoke goes. That's piqued on curiosity now. Vanity Fair again. Three-sided fireplace, that's fascinating, look at that. Cool, imagine with every single one of them lit, that would throw out some heat, wouldn't it? Sir Fitzroy Kelly, Vanity Fair. Vincent Brooks, Dacey and Son Limited, The Criminal Code. Sir William Grantham. Look at this room here. She's got a lot of pictures on the walls and stuff as well. Enormous client to small solicitor, so I wish to put myself entirely in your hands. Because we're so near all the law courts and the inns and everything. That's what these are all about. Take you into this amazing room. Sir Thomas More, Sir Francis Bacon, Dr. William Marsden, William Morris, Dame Gabriel Rossetti, Samuel Johnson, Charles Dickens, Spencer Percival. Holborn was once the smallest borough of London. Around these walls are some of those who lived and worked here and helped to make it so rich in history. Quite a few of these men and that drank in here as well. A few famous people visited this one. Dr. Johnson, although he was an ardent tea addict, often visited the pub, especially when he was writing his dictionary. Maybe he was on the search for new words. Alright, just pause you a minute. Grab me beer and I shall take you to the cellar bar now. The old iron boot scrape, look. And into the cellar bar. Pictures on the walls. Here's the cellar bar. Just take a picture quickly. Just do a quick one. We're currently in the oldest part of the pub, going right back to the 1600s to the original pub. So, if walls could talk, it's very, very busy here as well. So, obviously, I have to be a bit careful with filming and stuff, but yeah, it's a nice pub. Shame that one's not going, but yeah, it's a very nice pub. Hope you've all enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Now for some historical images. And now for the history of the City of Yorke Pub. I love the research process of these, and once I was able to find out the name of the original pub, I was able to find this image from 1798 showing the original pub, the lovely three-gabled building as you can see here in 1798. The building was probably built in the 17th century, although a plaque on the current day pub claims there was a pub there from 1430. It was originally called the Queen's Head Tavern, or in later years, as we see it in this image, the Queen's Head Coffee House, frequented by professional gentlemen, usually in the law trade, bearing in mind we're near the Inns of Court. And if you look down and into the shop doorway, you can see the man standing with a periwig and an apron on. He is the coffee master from the coffee house of that time. Another image, late 18th, early 19th century, shows our old pub / coffee house over to the left. Now, if you find the historical aspect of these interesting, pause to read this, because it's the original 1831 advertisement from when it became Henneke's. In 1831, a London wine merchant called George Henneke, born in 1784, and in the wine trade since at least the 1810s, opened a new wine and spirit bar. Under Henneke, it became known as the Gray's Inn Wine Establishment. And when we went down into the cellar bar of the City of Yorke, that's the only original part of the old pub that is still retained to this day. Some say that it dates back to the 17th century, and some say that it dates to the
19th century when Henneke rebuilt and remodelled vastly above. But we were able to walk in there, and we see it here in the 1830s from his advertisement. And the placard above the archway there, which says "In Vino Veritas," that means in wine there is truth. After Henneke died in 1838 at the age of 55, the wine importing business carried on under his name, although there were no Hennekes involved in its running, and his son George Henneke Jr. actually set up a rival business right across the road. Charles Dickens, who based one of his characters, David Copperfield, at the old pub, going there for a strong elixir and to meet an acquaintance. And Dylan Thomas, who wrote a poem or an ode to the Henneke's Long Bar. Here is that poem or ode, and I'll stay a while on this for you to read. And here we see the old original pub once more just before we go, 1798. And this 1890s image of High Holborn, you can just see to the extreme top left the clock and Henneke's, as it was known. We don't catch the full glimpse of the building, but one of the lovely things about the rebuild is that they did retain that clock, and it is included in the rebuild. But here we see such a busy high street in those days, full of omnibuses, horses and carriages and people. A different world. It's still just as busy today, but just in a different way. And the original pub, the Old Queen's Head Tavern, which would become Henneke's, as I said, was vastly remodelled and rebuilt over time and then Victorianised. But come the 1920s and the Edwardian era, it was demolished in 1920 and rebuilt from 1923 to 24 to give us the Citie of Yorke Pub that we see today. And for the lovely old Tudor beam building that we began with, this is it in the 18th century, Staple Inn, built between 1545 and 1589 by Vincent Engham and another person unknown. The building was once a wool staple, where wool was weighed and taxed, bearing in mind at the time in the Tudor era and medieval era, the wool was the fat of the land of England. It brought in a very, very vast income. Wool merchants grew very wealthy on wool. It survived the Great Fire of London, but was extensively damaged by a Nazi German Luftwaffe aerial bomb in 1944 and was subsequently restored. It has distinctive timber-framed facade, a crux roof and an internal courtyard. Its historic interiors include a great hall used by the Institute for Faculty and Actuaries. The ground floor, as the street frontage, is let to shops and restaurants, and they're required to use plainer signage than they would do in less sensitive buildings. For a time, the building appeared on the packaging of the Old Holborn tobacco. And this I liked. It's a tap outside that was originally a water pump converted into a tap. I like things like that. And that, ladies and gents, concludes our tour in Holborn of the Staple Inn and the Citie of Yorke Pub. Hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for watching.